So the next concept is compound bar or composite bar. So what is composite bar? So if the bar made up of two or more materials of same length or of a different length, we call it as a compound bar or composite bar. So let us consider the two examples. So in the first example we can see, so it is made up of two material 1 and material 2, and they are held together rigidly and making it as a single material, and load applied is also common, and these two material having the same length. So in the second case, so the material 1 and material 2 of a different length, but they are held together rigidly by the end supports, and load, compressive load is acting, is common or equally distributed to the two elements. So in the composite bar, so we have to remember two things. One is the load which is acting on the compound bar, the total load which is acting on the composite bar is equally distributed to the two elements. Therefore, P is equals to P1 plus P2, where P is the total load which is acting on the member, and P1 is the load which is carried by the first material, and P2 is the load carried by the second material. So therefore load carried by the first material and second materials is equals to the total load. So in the same way, if any extension or the elongation of the material takes place, so the elongation of the first material should be equals to the elongation of the second material. So these two conditions we have to remember in case of composite bars. So next we are going to solve the problem on composite bar. So a composite bar or compound bar of length 600 mm consisting of strip of aluminum 40 mm wide and 20 mm thick, and a steel strip of 60 mm wide and 15 mm thick, rigidly joined at ends. If elastic modulus of aluminum and steels are 1 into 10 power 5 Newton per millimeter square and 2 into 10 power 5 Newton per millimeter square, determine the stresses developed in each material and the extension of the compound bar when axial tension force of 60 kilonewton is acts. See, this is the given statement. So if you see the figure, we can see how the two materials are joined. So steel and aluminium are rigidly fixed at the end, which is having a length 600 mm, and the total load which is acting on the member is 60 kilonewton. Let us see how to solve this problem. So first we have to write down the given data. So length is 600 mm, load given is 60 kilonewton, therefore 60 into 10 to the power of 3 Newton. So area of the aluminium is 40 into 20, so we got 800 millimeter square. Area of the steel AS is equals to 60 into 15, so we got 900 millimeter square, and Young's modulus of aluminium is equals to 1 into 10 power 5 Newton per millimeter square. Young's modulus of steel is 2 into 10 power 5 Newton per millimeter square. So these are the given data. So next up we are going to assume the load which is acting on steel as PS and the load which is acting on aluminum as PA. So therefore from the concept of composite bars, so we know the total load which is acting on the entire element is equals to the load, sum of the loads which is carried by the individual material. So here we have the aluminum and steel, therefore PS plus PA is equals to the total load. Total load given is 600 kilonewton, sorry 60 kilonewton, therefore 60 into 10 power 3 or 60 into 1000. So call it as equation number 1. And from the concept of composite material, so we know the deflection or the extension of the material 1 should be equals to the extension of the material 2. So therefore we know the equation PL by AE So therefore for aluminium PaL divided by AaEa, because L is common for both the material. So for steel PsL divided by AsEs. So now we are going to substitute all the values, so except Pa and Ps, because we don't know the load which is acting on individual material. Therefore, so after simplifying this equation, see in this equation we can write either in terms of Pa or in terms of Ps. So I am writing in terms of Ps, therefore Ps is equals to, so after simplifying we got 2.25 in terms of Pa. So call this one as equation number 2. So substituting this equation 2 in equation 1, that is Pa plus Ps is equals to 60 into 1000. So we got, so Pa plus, in place of Ps we are substituting 2.25 Pa is equals to 60 into 1000. So we got Pa value, Pa is equals to 18462 Newton, and to find the Ps, substitute this Pa value in equation number 2. So Ps is equals to 2.25 into 18462, therefore we got 41538 Newton. Next, so to find the stresses developed on individual material, so general stress equation we can use, stress is equals to load by area. Since we are finding the stress in aluminum strip, therefore load on aluminum material divided by area of aluminum material. So load on aluminum material we got 18462, and the area is given 800 millimeter square. So therefore the stress we got 23.08 Newton per millimeter square. So stress in a steel strip, so load on steel strip divided by area of steel strip. So load is 41538, whereas area is 900. So after simplifying we got 4615 Newton per millimeter square. So next, so the total extension of the bar. So to calculate the total extension of the bar, so either we consider aluminum or steel, because both will give the same answer. So delta of a steel should be equals to delta of aluminum. Therefore, so we are considering the extension of the aluminum. So PaL divided by AaEa. So we calculated Pa value 18462 multiplied by length of the aluminum strip, which is 600 mm, and area of the aluminum is 800, and Young's modulus is 1 into 10 power 5. So after simplifying we got a total extension 0.138 millimeter. So the next problem under composite bar, a reinforced concrete column of size 300 mm by 500 mm has 8 steel bars of a 16 mm diameter as shown in figure. If the column is subjected to an axial compressive force of 800 kN, find the stresses developed in the steel and concrete. Take ES by EC is equals to 18. So the ratio is given. Young's modulus of steel by Young's modulus of concrete is equals to 18, and this is the given figure. So now let us see how to solve this problem. So to find the area of the steel, so we have to consider pi by 4 into d square, because it is a circular steel rods and we have 8 numbers of circular steel rod. So therefore we have to multiply 8 into pi by 4 into 16 square. So after simplifying we got the area 1608.5 millimeter square. Next, so to find the area of the concrete, so it is given 300 by 500 mm. So this is 500 mm. So first we have to multiply this, then we have to subtract with the area of the steel, because we are calculating the area of the concrete. Therefore first find the area of the entire area, then subtract the entire area by the area of the steel to find the area of concrete. So we got area of concrete 148391.5 millimeter square. Next, so from equilibrium condition, so we know total load is equals to load on concrete plus load on steel. So total load which is acting on the column is 800 kilonewton. Therefore, 800 kilonewton is equals to PC plus PS. Call this one as equation number 1. So from compatibility condition, so we know the deflection of steel is equals to deflection of concrete. So deflection of steel PSL divided by ASES is equals to PCL divided by ACEC. So we know the general equation PL by AE. So from that, so we are going to substitute the load, corresponding area and corresponding Young's modulus. So PS divided by area is 1608.5 in terms of ES is equals to PC divided by area is 148,391.5 EC. So we are writing in terms of PS. So we can write in terms of PS also. So PC is equals to, so area of concrete divided by area of steel into Young's modulus of concrete by Young's modulus of steel into load on steel. So EC by ES given in the problem is equals to 18. Therefore, in place of ES by EC, we are going to substitute 18. So therefore 1 by 18 multiplied by PS. So after simplifying, we got PC is equals to 5.125 PS. Call this as equation number 2. So then from equation 1 and 2, so we get, so PS plus, in place of PC we are substituting 5.125 PS is equals to, the total load is 800 kilonewton. Therefore 800 into 10 power 3. So we got PS value, PS is equals to 130612 Newton. Then to find PC, substitute PS value in equation number 2. So after substituting PS value in equation number 2, we got PC is equals to 5.125 Newton. So we got a PC value 669388 Newton, not 5.125 Newton. Okay, so PC is equals to 669388 Newton. So next, to find the stress induced in concrete, so we have to use general equation. Stress is equals to load by area, load on concrete by area of the concrete. So the load on concrete is 669388 divided by area of the concrete. So we calculated 148391.5. So after simplifying, we got stress induced in the concrete 4.51 Newton per millimeter square. So whereas stress induced in the steel is equals to load on steel by area of the steel. So load on steel is 130612 divided by area of the steel is 1608.5. So after simplifying, we got 81.2 Newton per millimeter square. Our next concept is thermal stresses. When the machine components or material are working in a high temperature environment, so what happens, there is a expansion or contraction of the material takes place. So obviously the stresses will induced, which is nothing but a thermal stresses. So to derive the relation between the change in length, either expansion or contraction, and the temperature which is responsible for change in temperature, and the length of the member, so we can write delta is directly proportional to T into L, which is nothing but the change in length of the member is directly proportional to its length and the temperature. So therefore we can write this equation as delta is equals to alpha into T into L. So where alpha is constant of proportionality or proportionality constant called coefficient of thermal expansion, and we know the definition of coefficient of thermal expansion, that is change in unit length of material due to unit change in temperature. So under this thermal stresses concept, so we are going to consider three conditions of the material. So in the first condition, so free expansion is permitted. So here we can see, so it is a cantilever beam, one end is fixed, other end is free. So when the temperature is supplied to this material, so it is free to expand because it does not have any restriction. It is free to expand, and there is no stresses induced in this type of material, because the basic definition of stress is resistance offered by the body against deformation. But here there is no resistance which is inducing the expansion of the material. So we got the expansion of material alpha into T into L. So therefore delta is equals to alpha into T into L. So here stresses will not develop, thermal stresses will not develop. So in the second case, that is prevented or restricted expansion, in the figure A we can see both the ends are fixed. Both the ends are fixed. So there is no space provided for the free expansion of the material. So therefore obviously the resistance force will develop when the temperature is applied. So there is a resistance force is applied against the expansion of the material in the opposite direction like this. Therefore the stresses will induced in this kind of material or in these conditions. So if it is not restricted or fixed at one end, so it is free to expand by the amount alpha into T into L. So in order to avoid this expansion, so we need to apply the compressive load, and there is always a resistance force which acts in the opposite direction. Okay, so therefore delta is equals to alpha into TL. So if it is free to expand, but there is a resistance force, therefore in place of delta we can write PL by AE. So P by A is nothing but sigma stress, therefore sigma can be written as sigma is equals to E into alpha into T. So here E represents the Young's modulus of the material, whereas alpha is the coefficient of thermal expansion, T is the change in temperature or temperature responsible for the expansion of the material. So third condition is that, so if we provide a partial gap to expand the material, which is nothing but partial free expansion. So delta is the small gap which is provided for the expansion purpose. So what happens if the small gap is provided? So let us consider the cantilever beam. Let us consider the cantilever beam. So in this case one end is fixed and the other end is having some gap. Other end it is having some gap for the expansion of the material, but so it is having alpha value, more alpha value, therefore so it is going beyond the gap provided. So we need to apply the compressive load in order to bring it back to the original position. So therefore always a resistance force which is acting at this boundary region, because so it has to go beyond this boundary region. So therefore there is always a resistance force which is acting around this boundary region. So alpha TL is the total expansion from the initial condition to the final condition. Therefore delta can be written as, so delta is equals to alpha TL minus small delta. So here delta is nothing but the expansion of the material expansion of the material from the boundary condition to the final position. So this is the boundary condition or fixed condition. So from this boundary condition to the maximum expansion of the material, we call it as a delta. So therefore delta can be written as delta is equals to alpha TL minus small delta. Small delta is the gap provided. Okay, so therefore, so delta can be written as PL by AE, PL by AE is equals to alpha TL minus delta. So using this equation we can calculate the stress value because P by A is the stress. So therefore sigma is equals to E by L into alpha TL minus delta, alpha TL minus delta. Now let us solve the problem on temperature stresses or thermal stresses. The given statement is a steel rail is 12-meter long and is laid at a temperature of 18 degrees Celsius. The maximum temperature expected is 40 degrees Celsius. First question is estimate the minimum gap between two rails to be left so that the temperature stresses do not develop. Calculate the temperature stresses developed in the rail if first condition no expansion joint is provided, which is nothing but completely restricted. If a gap of 1.5 mm is provided for expansion. So last one, if the stress developed is 20 Newton per millimeter square, what is the gap provided between the rails? So take Young's modulus, capital E is equals to 2 into 10 power 5 Newton per millimeter square and alpha is 12 into 10 power minus 6 per degree Celsius. So to solve the problem, so first we have to extract the given data. Steel rail is 12-meter long, length is given, capital L is 12-meter long, and the temperature, initial temperature is 18 degrees Celsius, whereas the maximum temperature is 40 degrees Celsius. So we have to take the difference, 40 minus 18, to obtain the t value, small t value. So the first question is estimate the minimum gap between two rails to be left so that temperature stresses do not develop. So stresses do not develop is nothing but the first case, which is nothing but free to expand. Free to expand. Second question, calculate the temperature stresses. Sigma we have to calculate. There are two conditions. No expansion joint is provided. That is restricted expansion. Expansion is not there in the device or the component given steel rail. So next, if a gap of 1.5 mm is provided for expansion, that is partial expansion case. So last one, if the stress developed is 20, so sigma value is given. So delta we have to calculate, small delta. So the first one, so we have to use the free expansion condition, that is delta is equals to alpha TL. Alpha value is given, that is 12 into 10 power minus 6 per degree Celsius into, so small t, which is nothing but difference between the initial temperature and the maximum temperature. So 40 minus 18 degree into length of the steel rail 12 mm. So 12 meter, it is in meter, therefore we have to multiply it by 1000 to convert it into millimeter. So therefore we got the expansion, that is minimum gap between the rails to be left is 3.168 millimeter, so that the temperature stresses do not develop. So the second question is, so if no expansion joint is provided, so here the free expansion is prevented, is equal to 3.168 millimeter, that we have calculated in the previous step, that is delta value 3.168 millimeter, and we know delta is nothing but PL by AE. So P by A is nothing but sigma, stress sigma, sigma is equals to P by A. So in place of P by A, substitute sigma. So sigma is equals to E by L into 3.168. So Young's modulus value given is 2 into 10 power 5. Length is 12 into 1000. Because it is in meter, we have to convert it into millimeter. And the minimum gap is 3.168. So after simplifying this one, so we got 52.8 Newton per millimeter square. So this is the temperature stresses which is developed. So next case, so if a gap of 1.5 mm is provided, so which is nothing but the material with partial expansion. So if the gap is provided, so what happens to the temperature stresses? So we know the relation delta is equals to alpha TL minus small delta. So alpha TL is nothing but we already calculated, that is minimum gap. So 3.168 minus, so delta value is given 1.5. Therefore, so after simplifying this one, we got 1.668 millimeter. So therefore, uh, delta, that is PL divided by AE. Delta is nothing but PL divided by AE. So we got 1.668. So P by A is nothing but sigma, stress sigma. So therefore 1.668 into Young's modulus is 2 into 10 power 5 divided by length is 12 into 1000. So we got the temperature stresses 27.8 Newton per millimeter square. So the last one is stress value is given 20 Newton per millimeter square. So we have to find the delta value. So we know sigma is equals to load by area. So the sigma value is 20 given. So in place of P by A, directly we can substitute 20. And for partial gap which is provided, we know the equation delta is equals to alpha TL minus small delta. So delta is nothing but PL by AE. So in place of P by A, we can substitute 20. So therefore 20 into length is 12 into 1000. Young's modulus is 2 into 10 power 5. And alpha TL, after simplifying we got 3.168, and we need to find delta. Therefore after simplifying we got a delta value 1.968 millimeter. So the next concept is the temperature stresses in compound bars, and we know the definition of compound bar or composites bar. So it is a combination of two or more different materials which are held together rigidly by the support. So what happens when the composite bars are subjected to temperature conditions or thermal conditions? So here in the figure we can see there are two different materials which are held together by a permanent joint, and both the materials should expand by the same amount. But material 1 is having high thermal coefficient of expansion, whereas material 2 is having low thermal coefficient of expansion, that is alpha 1 is greater than alpha 2. So therefore the material 1 is expanding more compared to the material 2. So material 1 is expanding by the amount alpha 1 T into L. So whereas material 2 is expanding by the amount alpha 2 T into L. Okay. So but in actual practice, so its expansion is at the plane XX. So in actual practice, its expansion or the expansion of both the material is at the place or in the plane XX. So that's why the material which is expanding beyond this plane is a delta L1 or DL1, and the material which is shortfall from this plane is delta L2. So delta L1 should be equals to delta L2. So therefore this capital delta can be written as, so delta is equals to, so with respect to the first material we can write alpha 1 TL minus DL1, alpha 1 TL minus DL1. So it is with respect to the first material. So next same delta value with respect to the second material. So this is the second material. We can write alpha 2 TL plus DL2, DL2. And from the figure, so it is confirmed that, so to bring the body to this actual position, so we need to apply the compressive load for the first material, whereas for the second material, to bring the body to the actual position of the expansion, we need to apply the tensile load. Therefore the compressive load on the material 1 should be equals to the tensile load on material 2. So load is nothing but stress into area. Therefore sigma 1 A1 is equals to sigma 2 A2. So we can write this equation in terms of sigma 1. Sigma 1 is equals to sigma 2 A2 divided by A1. Call this one as equation 1. So next, with respect to the actual position of the bar, or actual expansion position of the bar XX. So with respect to the first material, delta can be written as alpha 1 TL minus DL1 is equals to alpha 2 TL plus DL2. This is with respect to second material delta value, and this is delta value with respect to the first material. And this delta L1 is the expansion. We can write that one as PL divided by AE. PL divided by AE. So therefore P by A can be written as sigma 1, and the Young's modulus is different for the first material, therefore E1. So length is also, length is the same, length is same. So which is equals to, here alpha TL plus, in place of this DL we can substitute PL by AE. So P by A is nothing but sigma 2, and we are writing the Young's modulus as it is for the second material and the length as it is. So next, so we can take L as a common, and both the side L is there, therefore it will get cancelled. So next, so if we take capital T as a common, alpha 1 minus alpha 2 is equals to sigma 1 divided by E1 plus sigma 2 divided by E2. Call this one as equation number 2. So therefore using equation 1 and 2, the magnitude of sigma 1 and sigma 2 can be calculated. Now let us solve the problem on the compound bars subjected to temperatures. A compound bar is made of a steel plate 50 mm wide, 10 mm thick, to which copper plates of size 40 mm wide and 5 mm thick are connected rigidly on each side as shown in figure. The length of the bar at normal temperature is 1 meter. If the temperature is raised by 80 degrees Celsius, determine the stresses in each metal and the change in length. So the given alpha S, that is coefficient of thermal expansion for steel material, 12 into 10 power minus 6 per degree Celsius, and the coefficient of thermal expansion for copper alpha C is equals to 17 into 10 power minus 6 per degree Celsius. Young's modulus for steel is equals to 2 into 10 power 5 Newton per millimeter square, and Young's modulus of copper 1 into 10 power 5 Newton per millimeter square. So this is the given figure. So we can see the steel plate is sandwiched between the two copper plates, and we know the copper is having high coefficient of thermal expansion compared to the steel. So therefore, so here AC is the free expansion of copper. Alpha C into T into L is greater than the free expansion of the steel. So as I told, copper is having high thermal coefficient of expansion compared to the steel. So therefore, so to bring them to the same position, suppose if CC is the my reference plane or the actual plane of the expansion, so we need to apply the compressive load. So to bring these copper plates to this reference plane, and for the steel we need to apply the tensile load to bring the material to this actual reference plane. So therefore PS is equals to 2 times of PC, which is nothing but the load which is required for the steel is 2 times the load which is required for the copper plates. So if delta C, delta S and delta C are the change in length of steel and copper plates, so the total change in the composite bar delta S plus delta C can be written as alpha C minus alpha S into T into L, because alpha C is greater than alpha S. So therefore delta can be written as PL by AE. Length is same for both the material. So therefore L we kept as it is. So PSL divided by AS ES plus PCL divided by AC EC is equals to alpha C minus alpha S into T into L. So but PS, we know that PS is equals to 2 times of PC, that is a load on steel is equals to 2 times of load on the copper plates. So after substituting this relation to the above equation, so in place of PS we can write 2 times of PC divided by, so AS value is 500. So whereas Young's modulus of the steel is 2 into 10 power 5 plus, so PC divided by, so here LL get cancelled. So from left hand side and right hand side we can cancel the length. So PC divided by AC value is 200 into Young's modulus of steel is 1 into 10 power 5, it is given, is equals to alpha C value is given 17 minus alpha S value is 12, and length is, sorry, temperature is 80 degree Celsius. So length get cancelled. So after simplifying we got PC value, PC is equals to 5714.28 Newton. Then substitute this PC value in this equation and calculate PS value. So we got PS value 11428.56 Newton. Next, to find the stresses in copper, sigma is equals to, so load on copper divided by area of the copper. So load is 5714.28, just now we have calculated, divided by area is 200. So therefore, so we got 28.57 Newton per millimeter square. So next for the steel, sigma S is equals to load on steel divided by area of steel. Load on steel is 5714.28 into 2 divided by, because 2 times, so because here we have considered PC value, so or else directly we can take PS value 11428.56 divided by 500, or so 2 times of PC also we can take 2 times of PC, both are same. So after simplifying we got 22.86 Newton per millimeter square. Next, so the changed length if compound bar is represented by the line CC dash in the figure. So in the figure we can say, so this is the actual actual change in length of the material. So next, to find change in length for steel, so this is the amount of expansion which takes place by the steel material due to the application of temperature, and this is the gap with respect to the actual position. We call this one as delta S. So therefore alpha S TL plus delta S is the change in length. So alpha S into T into L plus, in place of delta S we can substitute PS LS divided by AS ES. So after substituting all the values, so we got change in length 1.07 millimeter. This is the change in length due to the application of temperature.